FA Cup replays have been scrapped from the first round onwards, and the final will be played before the end of the Premier League campaign. The FA and the Premier League have reached a 6-year agreement over the changes. Good for them, say fans of many of the lower league clubs. What about us? The opportunity for our club to take a big club to a replay is from this point onwards denied. Is the best line now, the best route onwards for the likes of McAntony's Peterborough and other clubs is to say, right, okay, FA, Premier League, let's talk and give us now a much better distribution deal than you've ever offered thus far.
Yeah, their best course of action is to understand what they're going to do and what is the best weaponisation of this misstep, I think, by the Premier League and FA. And I think it's an advantageous one in the longer game, which shows the new independent regulator they need more teeth. Now, they need to be as loud as they are being. It may well be, in part, confected outrage, but it needs to be vociferous. I remember once upon a time when the EFL clubs marched upon the Parliament and the FA to help them once the ITV digital deal collapsed. Everyone laughed at them because it was preposterous, ridiculous nonsense, and no one was going to take any notice of a bunch of football club chairmen walking down the road with placards. The bottom line is that, first of all, three things. Why are the FA in the Premier League's pocket? Because they are, right? Why is governance between the EFL, the Professional Game Board, the FA and the Premier League in such a state that it doesn't really require the EFL clubs to be a participant of it? Third thing is, what are you really trying to get? What's the big picture here? We need more distributions. And all these fans are missing my point. I love the FA Cup. Me and Keown have sat across this table on a number of occasions talking about how much value there is in the FA Cup. I actually support the idea that UEFA shouldn't be removing our League Cup. I want all of these things. But I'm also a realist, and I know and I believe to my boots that every single EFL club chairman, if they were offered a better distribution as a result of TV revenues in this country, would take this as a trade-off.
How likely is it they're going to get that?
Well, eventually they're going to get to a point, because we all know that the one thing that can change the direction of travel for the EFL is Parry and Birch using the independent regulator as a stalking horse to bring the Premier League to a table, to be able to be fearful of the fact the regulator might go, I tell you what, we're going to give you more money than you might have been prepared to negotiate yourselves.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen in the longer game.
So many of you still calling in about the scrapping of replays. What is your take? In all honesty, Martin, you've been a bit quiet in this because you've been calling for fewer games. Now you're going to get your wish.
Yeah, so you're saying that, this is what I wanted, but I don't want to kill that essence of the competition, which is that dream to be a giant killer. And I think something's being missed in all of this.
You still be a giant killer, you just can't do a replay.
I mean, also as well, this is the type of situation why we do need a regulator, isn't it?
But you can still be a giant killer, you just can't do it on a replay.
Yeah, but your best opportunity, your best chance to be a giant killer is to do it in a replay, isn't it?
Understood. But again, let's deal with the facts of the matter besides the ideals. How many replays? What we're doing is we're shouting at something, and I agree with the principle of it. Well, I want it because we're entitled to it. But are you actually getting it? Is it manifesting itself? Well, no, not really. But I want it because we're entitled to it, and it's the dream. But is it actually happening? Well, no, not really, no. But I want it. And I get it. But the point is, there's a bigger...
You're taking that's very clinical.
Moment.
Jim, that's a very clinical view, isn't it? We're taking away...
You're
taking away all the drama, though, aren't you, from the competition? Let's just put it back in...
No.
Let's go back to the Port Vale situation, Jim. When they had us on a knife edge in 97, 98, we won the double. They did the business at Highbury, and they take us all the way back to their place, yeah? So their fans, just for a moment, dared to dream, yeah? We overcome that. We also went to another smaller club, West Ham, did the same thing, went to penalties, yeah? You like that one, smaller club, West Ham, yeah? And we managed to get through it. But they got the result at Highbury and took us back to their place. So it was there for them and they didn't take it. I don't like seeing that disappear.
Okay. James is a Palace fan. James, you've been waiting patiently, mate. Good morning to you. What do you want to say in this?
Morning, boys. Great show as always. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, James.
I was part of the Alf Church FA Cup run last year, which some of you may remember, may not. We got to the second round against Forest Green, obviously we fell short. I've agreed with Martin in some of this. I've agreed with yourself. I've agreed with Simon. We're kind of going around in circles. I think the problem is it's twisting with the very fabric of the credible English setup in football. You know, the nostalgia, the background of the FA Cup stands us out, I think, from any other league across the world. This is an opportunity, as Martin said. Was it 792 teams, I stand to be corrected, who entered into the FA Cup? Let's take a ballpark figure that maybe 500 of those teams no one's ever even heard of. But it gives them an opportunity to put themselves on the map, like I said, to bring that infrastructure through, to bring that financial security. Now, I understand, a couple of years ago that the economics of football are, passed down. And we saw those the UEFA Super Cup. But look how that turned out in the end. It
The
showed
Super
that
League.
fans at
The
the end
Super
of the
League,
day-
yes.
The Super League, sorry, not the Super Cup, the Super League.
Yeah.
That fans do have a voice. The economics maybe aren't everything. The way that the game is going and still involved in football, I understand the economics are getting out of hand considerably.
What a well made point, James. How would you answer that, Simon? And James is a Palace fan, so he's one of your own. How would you answer that? Some good points in there.
Yeah, well, of course there are. But the economics of football, the genie's out of the bottle. And everyone has said to me, and including what James has said, that the big part of the opportunity is the fact that you get to get a replay which is economically viable and gives you an opportunity. Lincoln Town are a League One club because of the FA Cup and replays, and they're a successful 1-1 football club. Well, there'll be an even better one if they get more money out of the overall distribution deal, which dwarfs any mythical once every 10 years replay.
But we just heard, didn't we, about £1 million made life-changing situation for Lincoln.
Agreed.
And they did it on merit.
Agreed.
They got that money because they deserved it. So what you rather have a situation where we pool system. So where's this £32 million going to go?
What I'm saying is that I'd rather have a fairer distribution model. And I know in the great scheme of things, put aside all the sentimentality which we're delving into, and I get it and I understand it. I'm a football fan too, but I'm also a pragmatist. And I know that if every single one of the 72 EFL club chairmen were offered millions of pounds more as a result of a better commercial deal being done as a result of the regulator, they would forget this argument.
I think most of all, it's the way it's been done, Simon.
Agreed.
I think
Agreed.
that is the fact here. The way it's been done.
Agreed.
McAntony hasn't missed when he says they don't even bother to notify us or talk through proper changes like the one that has just been announced. And Jack, Bristol Rovers fan, I think that is what annoys you most as well. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. It's really frustrating more than anything. There's been talks about this for years. Let's not pretend that the Premier League teams have not wanted this for years. Jurgen Klopp has said season after season after season that he wants to get rid of replays and doesn't understand them. And they've now got their wish. However, if the Premier League teams are going to keep on going on and on about we're playing too many games, we can't cope. We can't cope with the amount of games we got.
Sound like Martin.
I like that, Jack. Carry on.
If you can't cope with the games, fine. We'll kick you out of the EFL Cup. Let's make the EFL Cup the EFL Cup. EFL teams only.
But then you'll get no money for it, Jack. The problem is the EFL Cup is underpinned by the Premier League's participation in it. So I understand the argument, but then it'll be dead on its feet economically.
Well, you could get better distribution rights and better TV rights for the Carabao Cup, because the facts are, and also my main point with the Premier League being in there and so on, they don't care about the EFL Cup. They send out their kids.
But they're the hook, Jack. Jack, the reasons why it used to be called the Worthless Cup when it was the Worthington Cup is because that's what people thought of it. Mm. And the only real value in it was when the Premier League clubs come in, and then the revenues the hook got into it, and the EFL Cup can't be sacrificed either.
Jack, listen, thanks for your call. Simon, finish this off for us. What do McAntony and the rest of his cohorts need to do next?
Shout foul. Just shout foul. This is a preposterous way to operate. There's not 20 clubs in this country. The FA is supposed to be the regulator. Look at the disgrace that they are. Look at this deal. This is a stitch-up. The FA were at one point going to sell their broadcasting rights to the Premier League. This can't be right. We need to do something about this. Yada, 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 yada. The independent regulator gets to hear this, The government gets to hear this. You keep going on about it. The fans get involved. You get more noise about it. All of a sudden, you get the EFL at the table with the Premier League, getting a distribution deal that passes these things through with a much happier enclave of football club owners, because they'll forget their sentimentality when they've got a big bag of big money being offered to them in a distribution deal.
So we said to the FA, all right, give us some kind of a statement, a kind of holding statement that lets us know where your thoughts are, and we've just had something. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 paragraph statement, but I'll read you 4. We've listened to the concerns over the last 24 hours. We'd like to outline the approval process which was undertaken for the 24-25 professional game football calendar. We've been discussing the calendar with the Premier League and the EFL for well over a year, and they finish with, we understand the concerns expressed over the last 24 hours, and we will be sharing more details with clubs very shortly to explain the additional revenue opportunities in the early rounds. So, Simon, that is music to their ears, I would have thought, to explain the additional revenue opportunities in the early rounds.
They're saying they're going to do more broadcasting of earlier games in the competition.
Right.
But they also tell you that the calendar for next season was approved by the Professional Game Board, which consists of 4 EFL representatives, 4 Premier League representatives, and by the FA board, and also by other members of the Premier League, the EFL, National Game and Grassroots representation, which means that the representation for 72 clubs is embodied in 4 representatives. So, with due respect to the Darren McAntonys of the world, whilst I understand their outrage, this is the construct. If they want the governance changed and they want their representation changed, they have ample opportunity in the past to have changed it.
I've just had a message from a fairly prominent individual in the game who's on the professional game board. I'm on the professional game board, and we were told that the FA and the EPL had agreed. At no time were we asked to agree this decision, or were we given the chance to agree or disagree.
But with respect,
and that's somebody who's on the professional game board.
With respect, right?
So that's tosh.
I understand. No. That's not quite tosh. What he's saying is that the FA and the EPL have agreed. Well, they did agree, right? So that's a statement of fact. And they're allowed to agree if they want to. If the Premier League wants to have this view, they can have it. If the FA want to have it, the EFL can also have their view. It's about how it becomes set in stone. And that's around governance.
Right. Yeah, but there's the calendar for next season was approved by the professional game board. That member is saying we weren't consulted.
Well, it depends what you think consultation involves. I mean, ultimately, were the Premier League and the FA consulted, or did they make a decision? When you talk about consultation, I'm trying not to delve into semantics, right? And I'm trying not to favour the Premier League or the FA, because I don't.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is what do you think consultation involves? Do you think it means taking it away and then going to the other 72 member clubs, getting a vote from the 72 member clubs about their position, and then taking it back? Because if that's what the person that you're referring to is alluding to, well, okay, then construct the governance to achieve that then.
Well, the FA statement finishes, we will keep this under review as the new calendar begins to ensure that the EFL and the National League clubs do not lose out. Do you think McAntony believes that?
I think that the more noise that the EFL clubs can make, the more likely they are to create downward pressure on the distribution deal. All of the holy grail is the distribution deal that the independent regulators, one worth, can be utilised for. And everything else, tragically, for all of these overreactive sentimental outbursts, are going to be superseded by the economics. No one is taking...
Overreactive? They just put a line through replays.
No one is taking away the idea that giant killing can't happen. And I understand...
At the first attempt.
I understand replays, but they don't bleeding well happen. We don't get them. They happen.
Of course they happen historically.
We've had two in the last season. So that's out of 600 games or however many we've had 2. You don't base statistics on a 0.1% or 1% ratio.
What is it we often remember most? It's the giant killing, isn't it? That's
Correct.
what brings us back.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But that's moved on. Do we remember the paddy fields that they played on when Hereford went
That's
through?
part of the magic of it.
But no one remembers that anymore. They go, look at those bloody awful pitches.
If you were a League One owner,
It's embarrassing to have an awful pitch now. Yes, they do.
With all your considerable wealth.
Yes.
Because 130 grand apparently is not worth getting out of bed
Correct.
for. So if you were a League One club owner in the FA Cup,
hopefully I'd never be such,
and you get a draw with a Premier League club, sorry, no replay. How would you feel about that?
But it's difficult for me to superimpose myself in a position.
No, it's not. Answer the
question.
question.
It's difficult for me to superimpose myself in a position so far down the pyramid, right? Because I'd never have any desires to be in a club of that size.
Shit.
But the bottom line is that I would be also focused on the reality. I would be making noise.
good.
Of course, Darryl would be making
You'd
noise.
be making noise.
But Jim, how have we got? How have we got? Jim,
but my reasons for making noise would be the bigger picture. Let's shout outrage, foul, disgusting, despicable, closed shop. Distributions are terrible. Look at what's going on in English football and look what's happening. Because the independent regulator won't be able to cock a deffen. He'll be able to hear it.
Yeah, but this is
clear
clear evidence that we do need a regulator, isn't it? Look, there's a different interpretation from all these heads of each league.
You're constantly talking about less games.
Yeah, but I don't see the PFA in this list, by the way, and you're probably pleased about that. But everyone sits around the table, and they don't know what they've approved for going forward. I find that absolutely ridiculous.
They do know what they've approved.
Yeah.
No, they don't. The EFL don't know. This comes as a shock.
But the
for
72 clubs have a representative that sits on that board. Whether the constructive governance is right or wrong, right? But so
where's the communication?
You ain't going to get 72 Darren McAntonys to rock into this meeting, are you? I say no. I say no.
Yeah,
I say no.
So these heads of departments have taken it forward to their members.
This is the constructive governance, which is what Mark Pallis was talking about. He's saying the governance of this, which facilitates this outcome, is wrong.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.